We have the youth praise dancer, the messengers. They want to come up.
Unselfishly died on Calvary. Oh, how you gave your life for me. Bruised, scorned, crowned your head with thorns. No greater love performed for me. Nails in your hands, nails in your feet, piercing your side. Could barely breathe, could have came down, yet you remain standing in all of the price you paid. I never knew of a love so true. You gave your life and still I heard you. So many times I find you again, but I repent. Forgive me for my sin. You paid it all up on the cross. You bled and died 'cause I was lost. So here I am, surrendering all. Lord, hear my cry. On my knees I fall, but you paid it all. Oh, living sacrifice, Lord. I give up everything that's not pleasing in your sight, so I can have everlasting life. So true, you gave your life. You gave your life. Still I hurt you. So many times I crucified you. Forgive me for my sin. Up on the cross, you bled and died. You bled and died. I was so lost. You're surrendering all. Lord, hear my cry. Oh, yeah. You paid it all. Hear my cry. Hear my cry. You paid it all. Oh, you paid it all. Yes, you paid it all. You gave up your image. You sacrificed so that this one more could have everlasting life. You gave up your glory so I could have my story. I want to tell you, Lord, you paid it all up on the cross. You bled and died. You paid it all.
Thank you.
Take y'all way back on this.
Had some good days. I've had some hills to climb. I've had some weary days. And some sleepless nights. But when I can hardly see the road. I asked the question, Lord, why so much pain? But He knows what's best for me. Although my weary eyes, they can't see. So I'll just say, thank you, Lord. I won't complain. God has been so good to me. Has He been good? He's been good to me. More than this whole world all you could ever be. He's been so good. Tell me, you know what He did? Yeah, He dried all of my tears away. Turn my midnight into day. So I'll just say thank you, Lord. I've been lied on, but thank you, Lord. I've been talked about, but thank you, Lord. I've been misunderstood, but thank you, Lord. You might be sick, lying racking with pain, but thank you, Lord. The bills are due, don't know where the money coming from, but thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I won't complain. God, 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 God has been so good to me. He's been good to me. More than this whole world all you could ever be. He's been so good. He's been so good. He's been so good. So good. So good. So good. So good. Tell me. Yeah. And dried all of my tears away. You ever stop me from crying? Turn my midnight into day.
I've been redeemed by the blood.
Say it again, say his blood.
His blood still works, and I'm glad to be. Yes, I am. Never lost its power. Never will. Yes, oh Lord, I've been redeemed by the blood. By the blood of the Lamb. Listen, his blood still works, and I'm here to testify. God is not dead, he's still alive. The same blood that was shed way back at Calvary is the same blood that's working now for me. Oh, his blood redeems me from the stain of sin, and his blood cleanses me deep down within. So if you ask me how I made it and how I've overcome, I can tell you it's because of the blood. Blood still works, and I'm glad to report that it never lost its power, and it never will. Yeah. I've been redeemed. I'm redeemed, and it's by the blood of the Lamb. Glory to God. Thank you for the blood. How many of you know about the blood today? Jesus. Yes, God. Yes, God. Oh, the blood of Jesus. Yes, it does. Yeah, 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 yes, it does. It's working. It's working. I know it works when I'm going out, when I'm coming in. Yes. Yes, it does. Be in the valley, y'all. I know it reaches to. It never lost it, and it never will. And it never will. Hey, I'm coming. Yes. Want to walk in power. Want to walk in power. I might be on the mountain, wherever I am, wherever. I know it is. Yes. And the blood. It's working right now. Yes, it is. I know it does. I know it does. I know it does. Yes. Wherever I am, y'all. Wherever His blood, it heals. Somebody knows. Somebody knows the blood delivers. Oh, the blood gives life. The blood gives life. The blood gives life. And I give Him glory. And I give Him glory. The wonder working power. This wonders working power.
Good. He's good all the time. I say you can't be ashamed of where you come from. You know, we're celebrating Black History Month, but we got to remember our roots. When they started, they had to sing them old spiritual songs and begin to sing them melodies. And we can't forget about that in this time, in this season, in this generation. I have to quit because, you know, hey, you don't give a preacher a mic. We're going to ask Ms. Dr. Barbara West to come up and speak, Ms. West.
All right.
Is it working? Oh, my goodness. How do you follow that? Who put this program together? Anyway, I'll be brief, I promise. I'm not a pastor, but I want to give thanks to the committee for asking me to speak today. I work here at the VA in utilization management right down the hallway, and when they asked me to speak, I'm like, who, me? Are you kidding? I never talk to anybody. But anyway, I want to talk to you briefly about something that I'm trying to get a rise out of some people today. I want you to think about something today. My title of my speech is, Being Black is Bad for Your Health. Since I'm a nurse, we're going to talk about some health. I won't throw a lot of statistics at you, although I know them, but I just want to talk to you for a few minutes about being Black in America and how it affects our health. Or if you think it does or not, we're going to talk. But when we talk about seeking health equity in this country, the goal is to ensure that all people have the access and means to live a healthy life. But the often unspoken truth underlying this challenge is that being a person of color in America, whatever your economic status, is bad for your health. Researchers have coined the term excess death to explain the sad fact that if blacks and whites had the same mortality rate, nearly 100,000 fewer black people would die each year in the United States. Even educated African Americans are sicker and die younger than their educated white peers. A black person will live an average about 3 fewer years than a white person with the same income, according to Paula Braverman, a leading researcher on health inequities at the University of California in San Francisco. Several researchers have shown that where you live can have more to do with how long you live than your DNA, your medical history, your insurance status, or experience with the healthcare system. When it comes to good health, our zip code can be more important than our genetic code. Living in the affluent white neighborhood of Bethesda, Maryland is associated on average with an additional 10 years of life compared to people who were born and live in primarily poor black Southeast Washington, D.C., which is only 10 miles away. Where we live can determine opportunities to access high-quality education, employment, housing, fresh foods, or outdoor space, all contributors to our health. The health disparities between blacks and whites run deep, no matter the age or the ailment. Adult obesity rates for African Americans are higher than those of whites in nearly every state. We have higher rates of diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease than other groups. Black children have a 500% higher death rate from asthma compared to white children. And African American adults with cancer are much less likely to survive prostate, breast, and lung cancer than white adults. In fact, merely being black in America triggers exposure to stressors linked to premature biological aging. Research indicates that blacks get sick at younger ages, have more severe illnesses, and are aging biologically more rapidly than whites. Scientists call this the weathering effect, or the result of cumulative stress. Racial bias is partly to blame for these inequities, according to an October 2015 report in JAMA magazine. On average, white Americans spend 80 minutes waiting for or receiving care, while black Americans spend an average of 99 minutes, and Hispanic or Latinos spend 105 minutes waiting for that same care. Alexander Green, an assistant professor at Harvard and director of the Disparity Solutions Center at Massachusetts General Hospital, has studied racial and ethnic disparities in health. He and other researchers have documented unconscious bias in physician behavior to the point of recommending a more aggressive treatment for chest pain for a white patient compared to a black patient. This is not just a healthcare problem, though. A study of 171 of the largest U.S. cities found that whites living in the worst conditions in urban areas in terms of poverty rates and single-parent households are nonetheless residing in circumstances much better than those of the average black person. The reality I've laid out here may not be news in cities with significant minority populations, such as Atlanta, Chicago, Philadelphia, and Spartanburg, South Carolina. Some of these communities recognize these disparities and are finding ways to lift all people of color, making their communities healthier for all. Their work and progress may be instructive for the rest of the nation. Even with all the upward mobility many blacks experience in many inner cities here in America, we still have high rates of poor housing, poor education, high rates of child and adult obesity, low high school graduation rates, higher teen pregnancy rates, high crime rates, and low or minimum wage jobs. There is no single solution for the convergence of societal racism, poverty, and other factors that lead to poor health. However, we now know enough to improve the situation. Health builds from where we live, learn, work, and play, and only secondarily in the doctor's office. Data conclusively show that early childhood education matters greatly, as does the nutritional value of the food we put in our bodies and our access to safe outdoor spaces. We need to work on all those and other social and economic fronts in underserved communities. But we also need to acknowledge the connection between racism and poor health and actively work to close that gap so that everyone has the best opportunity for good health. As Martin Luther King Jr. is often attributed as saying, of all the forms of inequality, injustice in health is the most shocking and inhumane. Communities that understand these challenges are moving the country to a better place. By accepting hard truths and offering solutions to seemingly problems with no solution, we can rectify this injustice and give millions of minority Americans a real chance at a better life. Let's start this conversation. Do we have a problem here in San Diego, California? We do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we're going to ask World Beach Center to come.
sorry. Nyamalo, sorry, Barbara Sanyamalo. Ali Yamalo, sorry, Barbara Sanyamalo. Giro, sorry, Barbara Sanyamalo. Abida Mimi Samoba, Koroke, Nana Fafanye. Kanyewa, Seri Barbara Sanyamalo. Kanyewa, sorry, Barbara Sanyamalo.
Those young people have been fantastic. Your theme this year is youth, education, and then my speech I added secrets. Shh. That's right, I'm going to share some secrets with you. For instance, how many of you remember, and I know the young people won't remember this, but those of us that are old enough can remember a TV program called The Millionaire. Remember that program? It was the most popular program in the United States because a gentleman would show up at your door unannounced, knock on the door, and when you opened it up, he would give you $1 million. Everybody kept waiting for that knock. I know I did. Still waiting. But here's the secret. It was true. It is still happening today. Didn't know that, did you? That's right. There are banks and individuals around this country who put up funds anonymously, just like the program. Once they give you the money, you can't tell anyone but your spouse. If you do, they return and take the rest of the money away. So keep waiting for that knock. It's coming. Secret. This VA is one of the best veterans hospitals in the United States. And today, I wanted, and I dressed this way to honor you, the employees and the volunteers of this hospital, because it's because of you that we veterans come to this hospital. Now imagine, most veterans don't get up on a bright sunny day like today and decide, what I'm gonna do today? I think I'll go to the VA hospital. Doesn't happen. So that means that every veteran that walks through these portals has a problem. Whether it's mental, physical, or financial, they come here with a problem. That's why all of you employees of the VA hospital and volunteers are most important to us veterans. And it's because of that that I wish to honor you today with my speech. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because when the veteran walks in here with a problem and comes to your various departments, they're looking for solutions. They're looking for help. And they get it from you. Most veterans, when they leave here, leave with their problems either resolved or they have a plan to resolve those problems. So again, thank you. Now the volunteers, and many of you know me because I used to be a volunteer here. For approximately 7 years, I volunteered at the front desk so that I could help veterans find out where were they going to go to your various departments. Many of you knew the hat, and some of you knew the bald head. But there's one individual that is sitting in this room now that volunteers above and beyond. This individual gets up at 3 or 4 in the morning each and every day, catches the bus, comes here, and takes in a full working day to help veterans. And she helps veterans with the most important aspect of their visit here, the money. How do I get paid for coming here? And I want to point her out to all of you, and that is Miss Lavera Red Adams. She puts in more hours than just about any other veteran volunteer. Thank you. Thank you. And we need more of that. We need more of that help. Now, secrets. What are they? Many of them. I want to leave you with some challenges today, not only to continue to help our veterans, but this time next year, I want to challenge you to have put aside, and I know all of you will say when I say this, I don't make enough money, but you do. And all I'm asking you to do is put aside 1%. This time next year, try to have 1% of what you make here saved. What for? For your future. What future? These young people here have a long future ahead of them. Yours truly here just achieved the milestone of 72, so pretty much most of you are younger. And I didn't do that. I was so busy raising a family, 7 kids, yes, that's right. I didn't take the time. Even as a financial advisor, I didn't follow my own instructions. So I'm asking you to do that now. Just 1%. If you can do more, do more. Why? Because again, it will make your retirement years, veteran or no, better. Now getting back to the veterans who come here, and we all have a story. You heard in that wonderful introduction that I was giving about my background as a submariner. Part of that secret in my past was I attended the most secret school in the history of our country. It's located in Hawaii. Shh, you weren't supposed to know that. When I showed up that day as an E5 with my orders in hand, the E9 chief would not let me in. Why? No black sailor had ever attended that school. He was from Mississippi. He said, "You're in the wrong place." I said, "Can't be, chief. Look at my orders." Turns out the class that I was in, the only student, was in a bank vault. The whole secret school was built around this vault. I was the only student. No books could go in, no books could come out. When I finished this class, I was told by the instructor, no person besides myself can tell you anything about this piece of equipment, Smith. So that meant that until General Colin Powell became the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, yours truly was the most highest classified minority in the history of our country. And that was because the instructor could tell me something, the admirals in charge of the Atlantic and the Pacific submarine fleet could say something about it, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and now the guy sitting in the Oval Office could say something. So that was a distinction and a secret that you all know. Now, why I learned that piece of equipment was to go on a secret mission that I can't tell you about because I'd have to kill you all. But needless to say, because of that mission, we still are on top of, and I pray that we will continue to be on top of, the Russians. Because we secretly videotaped their very first Polaris missile test submarine, right in the middle of the Russian fleet. Shh, don't tell nobody. This VA, there's a program that exists to support this VA that you may also not be aware of. It's called the VE, the Veterans Experience. It's brand new. It was started under Secretary Bob, you know, the outgoing secretary. It is continuing. And it's designed to help veterans to have a better experience when we interact with all veteran services, all veterans employees, and ergo, that expression, that motto that the VA has, I care. Integrity, commitment, advocacy, respect, and here's the most important to me, excellence. And you all provide that excellent service to our veterans. Thank you once again. Our newest and hopefully the longest serving director, Dr. Smith, has taken over last year. And I know he's also decided to embrace that I care philosophy, that I care motto. And I challenge all of you volunteers and all of you employees of the VA to embrace that. Help to change a veteran's life. I'm your outgoing chairman of the Mental Health Advocacy Council here. That council serves our veterans, and I invite you all to attend the meetings. They're on the second Friday of every month at 1 o'clock up on the second floor. You now have a new chairman because yours truly lives in another country now. Mexico, yeah. That one that El Presidente talks a lot about. But I love it there. Why? It's cheaper. I can't beat that with my limited income. But when I moved there, I learned another secret. And I'm going to share that with you. Because it doesn't just affect people who live in Mexico, veterans. It affects all veterans who care to travel outside of the continental United States. And that program is called the FMP, Foreign Medical Program. Didn't know anything about it. But once I did, I embraced it, I I now have my, and Dr. Smith doesn't like me to say this, but I don't have to come here anymore, okay? I have my own hospital in Mexico. I have my own primary care physician, all under the FMP. Now, it is limited to only covering those services that I'm service connected for. But for all you veterans here, every time you went to sick call, that's a service connected condition. Secret. This agency, the FMP, is headquartered out of Denver, Colorado. The secret there is they won't tell you where. They're hiding. I tried. Where are you? I want to come and see you. Can't find out. Only a P.O. box. But we know about those secrets in the VA. There's another agent, many here in this organization, here at the hospital, that are secret. You can't find fee bases, can you? So I just wanted to share some secrets with you today. I wanted to make sure that you knew how important you are to us veterans. You change our lives for the better. When we come in here and we get the help that we get from this hospital, it makes our lives fuller, richer, and hopefully will assist us in living longer. So when you get that grumpy old veteran like me that comes in front of you, give them a smile, know that they too may be suffering from PTSD. And so when they came through the door, they had other problems that had nothing to do with you. All that you can do is to give the help that you are trained to do, and with a smile, hopefully, and they will go away knowing that they have done something by coming here to see and get help from you. The last time I spoke, in closing, the last time I spoke here a few years ago, we were honoring female veterans. I told you about the first black female general. Many of you didn't know who that was, but you had heard of her, Harriet Tubman. Remember her name? She actually was the first general, because dig this, out of all of the history of the United States, no other person has been able to command units of our government and never lost a person. Secret. Didn't know that, did you? In the whole history of the Underground Railroad, not one person was ever lost under her command. Now, that's not to say she didn't threaten many people, because she carried a gun. And if they threatened to give up the secrets of those locations, she would have shot them, so there would have been a casualty. Last but not least, Cathay Williams. How many of you heard of her? She too was a slave, born in slavery. When she was freed, she joined the Buffalo Soldiers, the very first and only female Buffalo soldier. She changed her name to William Cathay. And when she had to go to sick call, she got discovered, because that was when she was discharged without her pension, but she served this country honorably. Last but not least is a gentleman by the name of Dr. Grady P. Anderson. He was not only a soldier, received the rank of major, but he was a VA hospital employee, chief of orthopedic surgery in Virginia. And he served our country distinguishedly, being a leader in, what's that thing that President Bush didn't like? I apologize, it's escaping my memory. It must be the nervousness I have. But it's stem cells. He was a leader in stem cell research for our country. Last year, I'm sorry to report, but he was found dead in a hotel downtown, robbed and murdered. The police said that it was natural causes, and they found brain matter scattered on the wall next to his head. Nobody dies of natural causes and their brain jumps out of their head. I personally had to investigate that murder because he was a good friend of ours and one of the founding members of our veterans organization. And I proved not only was he robbed and murdered, but guess what? Case was closed, the family didn't care to open it, and that was a done issue. But I wanted to mention his name to honor his contribution. He was an outstanding VA employee, veteran, and black man. At my ripe old age of 72, I'm proud to announce to you that I'm still contributing a little bit. For the first time in the history of Mexico and the U.S., we have an operating foreign medical program there for the thousands of veterans who do live in Mexico. And if you visit, you would be able to take advantage of that program also. Thank you for taking up some of your valuable time.
All right. Thank you. Now we have Kappa Alpha Pi fraternity from San Diego State University. And we'll have refreshments. We got refreshments too, okay?
Brothers, we are the PREs, the TTY, the Pretty Boys Incorporated, KSI. We are the PREs, the TTY, the Pretty Boys Incorporated, KSI. We are the Brothers of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, which was founded January 5th, 1911 on the campus of Indiana University, Bloomington, Indiana. My name is Brian Levesque. I'm the president of the Delta Epsilon chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi, which was chartered on March 26, 1951 on the campus of San Diego State University.
Like Brian said, we were the first chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi founded on San Diego State University on Monday, March 26, 1951. I'm a fifth year kinesiology major from Los Angeles, California.
All right. What's good, everybody? I said, what's good, everybody? Okay. How you doing? My name is Billy Carter. I'm a fourth year psychology major at San Diego State University. I was a past president last year of my fraternity, and born and raised in San Diego, California. Hey.
Hey, but Frankie, break it down for him a little bit, man.
Five, step. We steppin'. Woo! Yo, hey. Hey, side. We steppin'. Yo, hey. Hey, side. We steppin'.
ask Dr. Smith, our director, to come up.
Thank you. You know, I know I'm one of the last things standing between you and lunch, so I'll keep my remarks short. But I do think it would be remiss if I didn't make a few comments. You know, I stand here before you. I'm not the poster child for diversity. I'm kind of an old white guy. But I know that our organization, our community, our country is stronger when we recognize, respect, encourage, and celebrate our diversity. We're stronger as a country, we're stronger really across the board when we recognize the differences between ourselves and use them to succeed. Because it is that diversity of experience, of ethnicity, of spirituality, of gender, of sexuality that really contributes to how we succeed together by recognizing those differences of how we approach them. So I really want to thank the members of the program committee for putting this together, and I want them to come up or at least stand up for a second. Demetrius and Marlon, Sandra Barnes, Leroy Bonaparte, Thaddeus Brown, Danielle Curtis, Alfonso Faison, Travica Mills, Karen Emery, R.C. Shields, Trina Walker, Jimmy Young, Faye Warner-Jones, N. Sakura Watkins, Brenda Moore, Sergio Adams, Gina Gale, Robert Ernst, Donna Rice, and Alice Meister. These are the people that put this together, and it is an incredible program. So thank you. A hand for them. Get a picture. There you go. You guys get in the front. Go on. Tell us what you do. Okay. Thank you. Now I've got some award certificates to hand out, and they were given to me kind of randomly, but I put them in the order of the appearances today, and I think these are just incredible performances, and I really want to thank everybody, but let's go through one at a time. This is to Jamira Long. You want to come up? Thank you so much. Yes, you do. Not sure I ever thought earlier in my career that people would actually want to have pictures taken with me. The Messengers Praise Dance Team, come on up. I only have one certificate. Here we go.
That we are able to do what we do here today. So next year, we hope to bring you some more excitement, some more education, and some more facts. Thank you for coming. There's refreshments for everyone that participated.
All right, let's close it out. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity that we had today. Lord, I just thank you for unity.